in one of my videos, I talked about an employee embezzling money and taken from a company. And so I wanted to discuss another situation where a person that was acting as the controller of a business that I worked for, she was the manager, and she reported to the CFO. But what she did, and this is why it's important to have people looking over managers and what they do. She had created a business that was going to give leads to this marketing company. And so when the invoices would come in as leads, it would be like $30,000 or $40,000 every 2 weeks or something like that. And so she had set up an address, but it was a P.O. box, and it was about maybe 1.5 miles away from the company's address. Okay, so she was writing these invoices, and they was paying the checks, and then the checks would go to this P.O. box. She would go pick up the checks, and then she would put it in her bank. She did this for a couple of years. It might have been 2 or 3 years, but the company started looking at their bottom line, and they had requested me to come in and find out what was going on, because their bottom line, was dwindling. So I go in, right? I go in and I'm looking at everything. And so that invoice came across my desk. And, usually I will, when I go in to look at a company, I look at the consistency of the expenses. And if I see fluctuation in certain invoices, then what I do is I pull that invoice and then I research it and see why it's so much. So when I did the research, she was charging them like $3 and something for one lead. But then when I researched it, on average, the most you would pay for that lead is like maybe $1.20. So now I'm thinking, why is this expense so inflated? So I go back and I ask the, bookkeeper at that time, can you pull me all of these invoices? So when she pulled all of the invoices, what I also noticed is that the invoices didn't have too many breaks within it. And what do I mean by that? Like, it was 100, then the next month 101, then the next month 102, then the next month 103. So that tells me that this business don't have a lot of clients. We are the only client that they had, right? So, I'm like, oh, okay. So then I go online to check with the Secretary of State to see if it was a legitimate business. When I did that, I found out that the company was in revoked status. So it wasn't updated. So then I called the number, and when you call the number, you got like an answering service. So all of these red flags, and I'm like, So then I said, I wonder where their address is. So I jump in my car and I'm going to drive to the address. And that's when I found out that it was a P.O. box, right? Like not even 1.5 miles away from the company. So what did I do? I pulled all of this information. I uploaded it to, I can't say which sites that I uploaded it to, but I uploaded it to that site. But then because it was a publicly traded company, I also informed the audit committee of this issue. And so something came out of it, but I wanted to tell these stories because these are the type of things that you have to look out for. You got to be careful.